Have you ever noticed that two people can start from almost the same place in life, yet 20 years later, one has built financial freedom while the other is still living paycheck to paycheck? Most people believe the difference is intelligence, education, or luck. But if you study the lives of financially successful people, you will discover a different answer. The greatest difference is hidden inside the way they think before they make every financial decision. Wealth is rarely created by one lucky moment. It is usually created by thousands of ordinary decisions repeated consistently over many years. Every purchase, every investment, every opportunity accepted or ignored, and every habit slowly builds the financial future that eventually becomes visible to everyone else. The fascinating part is that these decisions are controlled by psychology before they are controlled by money. That means two people can earn exactly the same income, but because they think differently, they eventually live completely different lives. One learns to control emotions before spending. The other spends emotionally and hopes everything will somehow work out. One sees every problem as an opportunity to learn. The other sees every challenge as proof that success belongs only to other people. One invests in knowledge before expecting financial rewards. The other waits for the perfect moment that never arrives. The result is not immediate. In fact, the difference may remain invisible for several years. But as time continues, the small daily choices become larger financial outcomes. Eventually, one person enjoys freedom, while the other continues wondering why life never seems to improve. This is why understanding money without understanding human behavior is incomplete. Money is simply a tool. The mind decides how that tool will be used. Every wealthy person you admire has developed ways of thinking that help them make better financial decisions again and again. These habits are not reserved for millionaires. They are not connected to age, family background, or even income. They are mental patterns that anyone can practice with patience and consistency. In this video, you are about to discover 15 powerful psychological habits that quietly separate wealthy people from everyone else. Some of these ideas may completely change the way you see money. Some may challenge beliefs you have held for years. That is a good thing, because real financial growth often begins when old beliefs are replaced with better ones. By the end of this video, you will understand that building wealth is not only about earning more, it is about thinking better. And once your thinking changes, your decisions begin to change. And when your decisions change, your future changes with them. Let's begin with the first mental habit that quietly transforms ordinary financial lives into extraordinary ones. The first habit that separates wealthy people from everyone else is that they think in decades instead of days. Most people make financial decisions based only on what feels good today. They ask themselves, will this make me happy right now? Wealthy people ask a completely different question. They ask, how will this decision affect my life 10 or 20 years from now? That single change in thinking completely transforms the way they spend, save, and invest. Imagine two friends who receive the same monthly income. The first person spends most of it on things that bring immediate excitement. New clothes, expensive gadgets, and unnecessary upgrades feel rewarding because the benefits are instant. The second person enjoys life too. But before spending money, he quietly asks himself whether today's purchase will still matter 5 years from now. If the answer is no, he thinks carefully before buying it. At first, both lives look almost identical. Neither person appears richer than the other, but time quietly begins to reward one set of decisions while punishing the other. After several years, the first person wonders why saving money always feels impossible. The second person has built financial stability little by little without making dramatic sacrifices. This is because wealth is usually created through patience rather than speed. The world encourages instant gratification. Every advertisement tells you to buy now. Every discount tells you today is your last chance. Social media makes it seem as though everyone else is enjoying a better life. But financially successful people understand that most opportunities will still exist tomorrow, while money spent impulsively is often gone forever. They learn to control temporary emotions instead of allowing emotions to control their money. Another reason long-term thinkers succeed is because they understand compound growth. Small improvements repeated consistently become extraordinary over time. The same principle applies to money, knowledge, skills, and even personal discipline. A small amount invested regularly often grows into something much larger than people expect. The same is true for learning. Reading a few pages every day may seem insignificant today, but after several years, it creates knowledge that completely changes financial decisions. Rich people rarely become wealthy because of one perfect decision. They become wealthy because hundreds of good decisions quietly work together over many years. This habit is available to everyone regardless of income. You do not need to be rich before thinking like a wealthy person. In reality, you must first learn to think differently before your financial life begins to change. And that brings us to the second habit that quietly transforms ordinary people into long-term wealth builders. The second habit is that wealthy people buy freedom instead of status. Many people spend money trying to prove their success to others. They buy expensive things they cannot comfortably afford because they want to look successful, but appearances rarely create real wealth. In fact, chasing status often delays financial freedom because every purchase creates another financial burden. Wealthy people understand that the greatest luxury is not owning the most expensive car or wearing the most expensive watch. The greatest luxury is having control over your own time. When your money buys freedom instead of attention, you begin making completely different decisions. You become less interested in impressing strangers and more interested in building a secure future. Imagine two neighbors earning exactly the same income. One replaces perfectly good belongings every year simply because something newer appears. The other upgrades only when it genuinely improves his life and saves the remaining money for future opportunities. After several years, the difference becomes obvious. The first neighbor owns many impressive possessions but constantly worries about bills. The second neighbor owns fewer unnecessary things but enjoys peace of mind because his financial foundation grows stronger every year. True wealth is often invisible. It is the emergency fund that nobody sees. It is the investment account that quietly grows in the background. It is the ability to sleep peacefully without worrying about unexpected expenses. It is the freedom to leave a stressful job because your finances give you choices. People chasing status usually sacrifice tomorrow for today. People chasing freedom willingly sacrifice a little comfort today to gain much greater freedom tomorrow. This mindset also changes the way wealthy people view success. They no longer measure success by what others think. They measure success by how many choices they have. A person with fewer possessions but complete financial control is often far wealthier than someone surrounded by luxury but trapped by debt and constant financial pressure. The question is not, how rich do I look? The better question is, how free am I becoming? Once you begin asking that question, every financial decision starts moving in a different direction, and the next mental habit explains why some people continue growing financially even when life becomes difficult. The third habit is that wealthy people protect their attention as carefully as they protect their money. Most people believe money is their most valuable resource, but attention is even more valuable because attention decides where money eventually goes. Every day, thousands of advertisements, videos, and social media posts compete to influence your decisions. The longer you spend consuming information that encourages unnecessary spending, the more difficult it becomes to make wise financial choices. Wealthy people understand this psychological battle. They carefully choose what they watch, what they read, and who they listen to, because they know that every idea planted in the mind eventually influences behavior. If you constantly surround yourself with people who complain about money, you slowly begin believing that financial success is impossible. If you constantly compare yourself with unrealistic lifestyles online, you begin spending emotionally instead of logically. On the other hand, when you regularly learn from people who practice discipline, patience, and long-term thinking, your own financial habits gradually improve. This is why many successful people spend more time reading books, listening to educational content, and developing valuable skills than endlessly scrolling through entertainment. They are not avoiding fun. They are protecting the quality of their thinking, because clear thinking produces better decisions, and better decisions produce better financial results. Attention works like a garden. If you allow negative ideas to grow without control, they eventually crowd out the habits that create wealth. But if you intentionally fill your mind with useful knowledge, positive examples, and practical financial education, your decisions slowly begin to change without forcing yourself. Every financial habit begins as a repeated thought. That is why protecting your attention is one of the smartest investments you can ever make. You may not notice the results tomorrow or next week, but after several years, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. The people who master their attention usually master their finances as well. And that leads us to another powerful habit that quietly shapes almost every financial decision we make. The fourth habit is that wealthy people understand the true cost of every decision. Most people only see the price they pay today, but wealthy people also think about what they are giving up tomorrow. This is called opportunity cost. Every dollar spent on something unnecessary is a dollar that can no longer be invested, saved, or used to create future opportunities. That does not mean wealthy people never enjoy life. They simply understand that every financial choice has another choice hidden behind it. Before buying something, they naturally ask themselves, what am I giving up by making this decision? That simple question protects them from countless unnecessary purchases. Imagine buying an expensive item that brings excitement for only a few weeks. Now imagine investing that same amount every month for many years. The difference is rarely visible in the beginning, but time quietly multiplies wise decisions while slowly exposing careless ones. This is why wealthy people think differently before spending. They do not allow temporary emotions to make permanent financial decisions. They know that patience creates options, and options create freedom. Another important difference is that they rarely chase every new trend. Just because everyone else is buying something does not mean they need it. They understand that trends disappear, but smart financial decisions continue creating value for years. This mindset removes pressure because they no longer compare their purchases with other people's lifestyles. They compare every decision with their own long-term goals. That is why wealthy people often appear surprisingly ordinary. They do not feel the need to prove success through constant spending. They allow their investments, their skills, and their discipline to quietly speak for them. The more you practice thinking about opportunity cost, the easier it becomes to recognize unnecessary spending before it happens. Over time, this single habit can completely transform the direction of your financial life, because wealth is not created only by earning more. It is created by making better decisions with the money you already have. And the next habit explains why financially successful people continue growing even when circumstances become uncertain. The fifth habit is that wealthy people build multiple sources of income instead of depending on only one. Most people spend their entire lives relying on a single paycheck. They believe their job alone will always protect them. But the world changes quickly. Companies close, industries change, and unexpected events can affect anyone. Financially successful people understand that depending on one source of income creates unnecessary risk. That is why they gradually build additional income streams over time. They do not try to become rich overnight. They simply begin with one small step. Some learn valuable skills that allow them to earn extra income during their free time. Some invest in businesses that continue generating income without requiring constant attention. Others create digital products, build investments, or develop assets that continue producing value year after year. The important lesson is not how many income streams you have today. The important lesson is whether you are building something that can continue supporting your future. Every additional source of income increases financial security because it reduces dependence on a single opportunity. This also changes the way wealthy people think about work. They no longer ask, how can I earn more money today? Instead, they ask, how can I build something that continues creating value tomorrow? That simple shift encourages long-term thinking and continuous learning. They understand that every new skill has the potential to become another opportunity in the future. Even if an additional income begins very small, it can grow significantly when combined with patience, consistency, and continuous improvement. Many successful businesses and investments started with modest beginnings that seemed unimportant at first. The difference is that wealthy people keep building while others keep waiting. They understand that financial freedom is rarely supported by one pillar alone. It is supported by several strong foundations working together. If one source becomes weaker, the others continue providing stability. That is why building multiple sources of income is not only about earning more money. It is about creating resilience, confidence, and long-term peace of mind. And the next habit reveals another psychological difference that quietly separates financially successful people from everyone else. The sixth habit is that wealthy people invest in knowledge before they invest in expensive possessions. Many people believe they need more money before their lives can improve, but financially successful people understand that knowledge usually comes before wealth. The more valuable your knowledge becomes, the more valuable your decisions become, and better decisions almost always produce better financial results. That is why wealthy people never stop learning. They read books, study successful people, listen carefully to experts, and remain curious even after becoming financially successful. They understand that every new skill has the potential to increase future income or prevent expensive mistakes. A single lesson learned today can save thousands of dollars in the future. Knowledge compounds just like money. The more you learn, the easier it becomes to understand new ideas and recognize better opportunities. This creates a powerful cycle. Better knowledge leads to better decisions. Better decisions create better financial results, and better financial results create even more opportunities to learn and grow. Unfortunately, many people spend years buying things that quickly lose value while ignoring the knowledge that could permanently improve their lives. They upgrade phones before upgrading their skills. They spend hours consuming entertainment, but only a few minutes improving their financial education. Wealthy people reverse this habit. They understand that their greatest asset is not their bank account. It is their ability to think, learn, and adapt. Even during difficult financial periods, they continue investing in themselves because knowledge cannot be taken away by inflation, market crashes, or economic uncertainty. The skills you develop today can continue creating opportunities for the rest of your life. That is why successful people see education as an investment instead of an expense. They know that money follows value, and the more value you create through knowledge and skill, the greater your financial potential becomes. The journey toward wealth rarely begins with a larger paycheck. And the next habit explains why emotionally disciplined people often outperform people with greater talent or higher incomes. It usually begins with a better mindset and a stronger commitment to continuous learning. The seventh habit is that wealthy people control their emotions before making financial decisions. Money is emotional far more often than people realize. Many expensive mistakes happen during moments of excitement, fear, stress, or frustration. Some people spend money to celebrate. Others spend money to escape sadness. Some panic when markets fall and sell valuable investments at the worst possible time. Others become overly confident when prices rise and take unnecessary risks. In both situations, emotions quietly replace logic. Wealthy people understand that emotions are temporary, but financial decisions often have permanent consequences. That is why they rarely make important money decisions immediately. They give themselves time to think, review the facts, and consider the long-term impact before taking action. This simple habit protects them from many costly mistakes. Patience is one of the greatest financial advantages anyone can develop. When you slow down before making an important decision, you allow logic to guide your actions instead of temporary feelings. This applies to investing, buying expensive items, starting businesses, and even accepting financial advice. Successful people ask questions before making decisions. They look for evidence instead of following emotions or popular opinions. They know that crowds are often driven by excitement or fear rather than careful thinking. Another reason emotional discipline is so valuable is because financial success is never a perfectly straight path. There will always be unexpected setbacks, market changes, and personal challenges. People who react emotionally to every obstacle often make situations worse. People who remain calm usually find better solutions because clear thinking creates better decisions. The goal is not to remove emotions completely. That is impossible. The goal is to recognize emotions without allowing them to control your financial future. Once you master this habit, you begin making decisions based on principles instead of impulses, and over many years, that difference quietly becomes one of the strongest foundations of lasting wealth. Our next habit explains why financially successful people continue moving forward even when everyone around them is standing still. The eighth habit is that wealthy people take action before they feel completely ready. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect time to start investing, building a business, learning a new skill, or improving their financial life. They believe they need more money, more confidence, or better conditions before taking the first step, but the perfect moment almost never arrives. While they continue waiting, time quietly moves forward and opportunities slowly disappear. Wealthy people understand that progress is created through action, not perfection. They know that every expert was once a beginner, and every successful investment started with a first decision. They do not expect to know everything before they begin. Instead, they learn while moving forward. They make small mistakes, improve their knowledge, and continue growing with experience. This mindset allows them to improve faster than people who remain trapped by fear of failure. Another important difference is that wealthy people understand the cost of inaction. Many people focus only on the risk of making a wrong decision, but they ignore the much larger risk of never making a decision at all. Choosing to do nothing is still a decision, and it often becomes the most expensive one, because valuable time can never be recovered. Years later, many people regret the opportunities they ignored, far more than the mistakes they made. Successful people accept that mistakes are part of learning. They review what happened, adjust their strategy, and keep moving forward instead of giving up. They understand that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build through repeated action. Every small step creates experience, and every experience creates better judgment. This is why ordinary actions repeated consistently often produce extraordinary results over time. You do not need to change your entire financial life in one day. You only need to begin with one smart decision and then repeat another tomorrow. Small actions become powerful habits, and powerful habits eventually become lasting wealth. The people who succeed are rarely the people who waited for perfect conditions. They are usually the people who decided to start before they felt completely ready. And the next habit explains why wealthy people value time more than almost anything else in their financial journey. The ninth habit is that wealthy people value time more than money. Most people believe money is the most valuable resource they have, but money can be earned again. Time cannot. Once a day has passed, it can never be recovered. That is why financially successful people constantly ask themselves whether the way they spend their time is helping them build the future they truly want. They understand that every hour invested in learning, building useful skills, or creating valuable opportunities can produce rewards for many years. They also understand that wasting time usually becomes more expensive than wasting money, because lost time also means lost opportunities. Many people work hard every day, but they never stop to ask whether their effort is moving them closer to financial freedom or simply keeping them busy. Wealthy people make this distinction very carefully. They focus on activities that continue creating value, even after the work is finished. They prefer building assets over constantly exchanging time for money. They also avoid spending too much time on distractions that produce no meaningful results. Short moments of entertainment are healthy, but endless distraction slowly steals years that could have been used to improve knowledge, health, relationships, and financial stability. Another important difference is that wealthy people plan their days with intention. They know exactly what deserves their attention and what should be ignored. They understand that saying yes to one thing often means saying no to something more valuable. This is why they protect their schedule just as carefully as they protect their investments. Every hour has the potential to become knowledge, a new opportunity, a stronger relationship, or a better financial future. The choice belongs to the person using that hour. When you begin treating time as your greatest investment, every decision starts changing. You become more intentional, more disciplined, and more focused on long-term results. In the end, the wealthiest people are not always those who earn the most. They are often those who use their time in the wisest possible way. And the next habit reveals why financially successful people build simple systems instead of depending only on motivation. The 10th habit is that wealthy people build systems instead of depending on motivation. Motivation feels powerful, but it never lasts. Some days you feel energetic and ready to make smart financial decisions. Other days you feel tired, stressed, or distracted. If your financial future depends only on how motivated you feel, you will never remain consistent. Wealthy people understand this psychological truth. That is why they create simple systems that continue working even when motivation disappears. They automate their savings, They invest regularly according to a plan. They create budgets they can realistically follow. They schedule time for learning instead of waiting until they feel inspired. These systems quietly remove the need to make the same decision over and over again. The fewer unnecessary decisions you make, the easier it becomes to stay disciplined. Successful people know that good habits become effortless when they are supported by strong systems. For example, a person who automatically saves part of every paycheck does not need to fight temptation every month. The system makes the right decision before emotions have a chance to interfere. The same principle applies to investing, learning, and managing daily expenses. Small systems repeated consistently often outperform big goals that depend only on temporary excitement. Another advantage of systems is that they continue producing results during difficult times. Life will always become busy. Unexpected problems will appear. Motivation will rise and fall. But a well-designed system keeps moving forward, even when life becomes challenging. That is why financially successful people spend less time searching for motivation and more time improving their routines. They understand that success is rarely built through dramatic moments. It is usually built through ordinary actions, repeated so consistently that they become automatic. Your future is shaped less by what you do once and more by what you continue doing every week, every month, and every year. When you build strong financial systems, you no longer rely on willpower alone. You create an environment where making the right decision becomes the easiest decision. And the next habit explains why wealthy people willingly delay small pleasures today in exchange for much greater rewards tomorrow. The 11th habit is that wealthy people willingly delay gratification in order to achieve something much greater in the future. This is one of the most powerful psychological advantages anyone can develop. Modern life encourages instant rewards. You can order almost anything with one click, borrow money within minutes, and receive entertainment at any moment. As a result, many people become accustomed to satisfying every desire immediately. Wealthy people think differently. They understand that every time they delay a small pleasure today, they create a bigger opportunity tomorrow. They do not refuse enjoyment forever. They simply choose the right timing. They know that sacrificing a little comfort now can create years of financial freedom later. Imagine two people receiving the same bonus. One spends it immediately on things that lose value within months. The other divides it wisely, saving part, investing part, and using only a small portion for enjoyment. At first, the spender appears happier because the reward is immediate. But as the years pass, the investor begins enjoying something far more valuable: peace of mind, financial security, and freedom of choice. This is the hidden power of delayed gratification. It replaces temporary excitement with lasting progress. Another reason this habit is so important is because it strengthens self-control. Every time you choose your long-term goal over a short-term desire, you train your mind to make better financial decisions in the future. That discipline gradually spreads into other areas of life. You become more patient, more focused, and less influenced by impulse or social pressure. Wealthy people understand that success is rarely determined by one big decision. It is usually determined by hundreds of small moments when you choose what is important over what is simply attractive. The good news is that anyone can practice this habit. You do not need a higher income. You only need a clear vision of the future you want to build. Once your future becomes more valuable than today's temptation, your daily decisions naturally begin to change. And the next habit reveals why wealthy people see failure as valuable information instead of permanent defeat. The 12th habit is that wealthy people treat failure as feedback instead of defeat. Most people become discouraged after making one financial mistake. They lose money on an investment, make a poor business decision, or miss an opportunity, and they immediately conclude that they are simply not good with money. That belief often becomes more expensive than the mistake itself. Wealthy people respond differently. They understand that every mistake contains valuable information. If something goes wrong, they ask, "What can I learn from this experience?" instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" This simple shift in thinking allows them to improve instead of giving up. They know that every successful entrepreneur, every experienced investor, and every financially independent person has made costly mistakes along the way. The difference is not that successful people avoid failure. The difference is that they refuse to let failure become their identity. They separate the mistake from the person. A bad decision does not make someone a failure. It simply means a better decision can be made next time. This mindset creates resilience because when you stop fearing mistakes, you become willing to take calculated risks that can improve your future. Another important lesson is that failure often teaches what success cannot. When everything goes well, people rarely stop to examine their decisions. But when something goes wrong, they pay closer attention, identify weaknesses, and discover better strategies. That process creates wisdom, and wisdom leads to better financial judgment over time. Wealthy people understand that experience is one of the most valuable assets they can own, and experience is often built through both victories and setbacks. They keep records of their lessons, adjust their plans, and continue moving forward instead of staying trapped in regret. The goal is not to live without making mistakes. The goal is to avoid repeating the same mistake again and again. When every setback becomes a lesson, you continue growing stronger while others remain stuck in fear. That is why financially successful people do not ask whether they will fail. They ask whether they will learn. And the next habit reveals why truly wealthy people allow their money to work harder than they do. The 13th habit is that wealthy people make their money work harder than they work for money. Most people spend their entire lives exchanging time for income. They work more hours to earn more money, and when they stop working, their income usually stops as well. Wealthy people understand that there is a limit to how much one person can work, but there is almost no limit to how much well-managed assets can grow over time. That is why they gradually shift their focus from earning money to owning assets that continue producing value. They understand that every dollar has the potential to become a hardworking employee. If invested wisely, it can continue generating income long after the original work has been completed. This is why financially successful people save consistently, invest patiently, and allow time to multiply their efforts. They do not expect instant results. They trust the process because they understand that compound growth rewards patience more than speed. Many people ignore this principle because the progress seems small in the beginning. But wealthy people know that the early years are simply the foundation for much greater growth later. They also understand that money should never remain completely idle. Whenever possible, they look for responsible ways to put their savings to work through productive investments and valuable assets that have the potential to grow over time. They study before investing, accept reasonable risks, and avoid chasing unrealistic promises of quick wealth, because protecting capital is just as important as growing it. Another important difference is that wealthy people allow their investments to continue working instead of constantly interrupting the process. They resist the temptation to withdraw money for unnecessary spending. They understand that patience is one of the greatest financial advantages available to anyone. The longer productive assets are allowed to grow, the greater their potential becomes. Eventually, there comes a moment when income produced by assets begins supporting everyday life. That is one of the most important turning points on the journey toward financial freedom. It is no longer only your effort creating income. Your money has learned to work alongside you. And the final habit brings all of these lessons together into one powerful principle that can completely transform the way you think about wealth. The 14th and final habit is that wealthy people understand wealth is created in the mind before it appears in the bank account. Many people spend years searching for the perfect investment, the perfect business, or the perfect opportunity while ignoring the one thing that influences every financial result they will ever have. Their mindset. Your beliefs quietly shape your actions. Your actions become habits. Your habits produce your financial results. If you believe money always disappears, you will unconsciously make decisions that prove that belief. If you believe building wealth is only for lucky people, you will stop looking for opportunities before they even appear. But when you believe that financial knowledge can be learned, that discipline can be developed, and that small, consistent actions create extraordinary results, you begin making completely different decisions. Wealthy people do not think they are special. They simply understand that success is a process, not an event. They focus on improving a little every day instead of trying to change everything overnight. They know that every smart financial decision, no matter how small, is another brick in the foundation of a stronger future. When you save a little more, you strengthen that foundation. When you invest wisely, you strengthen it again. When you learn a new skill, you strengthen it once more. And when you repeat those actions year after year, the results eventually become impossible to ignore. This is why lasting wealth rarely arrives suddenly. It grows quietly, while most people are paying attention to something else. Never compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. Every financially successful person started with a first lesson, a first investment, a first mistake, and a first small victory. The difference is that they refuse to stop learning. They refuse to stop improving, and they refuse to allow temporary setbacks to define their future. Now ask yourself one simple question. Which of these 14 mental habits will you begin practicing today? You do not need to master all of them at once. Choose one, apply it consistently, then choose the next. Remember, financial freedom is not built by one extraordinary decision. It is built by thousands of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. If this video helped you see money differently, subscribe to Lavora Horizon for more practical personal finance lessons designed to help you build lasting wealth, one smart decision at a time. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building the future you deserve.